co-parenting tools that you can use. Part of the series, Mediation Tips with Fran Brockstein. That is your topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hey everyone, this is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Ołowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And I'm Fran Brockstein, an attorney and mediator in Marble Falls, Texas.
All right, gang. So everyone's back, and this time we're with Fran again to discuss co-parenting tools. And today we have three, types of tools. One's going to be practical, paper-based. One's going to be electronic. And the last one is going to be, kind of a gizmo you can use that would help save you some time from fighting with the parent of your child. So Natalia, Fran, and I, we're all mediators. We're all family law attorneys. And so we help people every day try to work out their differences at the table. And sometimes in court, sometimes out of court. But one thing we always want is to share good tools for people to use so that they can go about their lives without conflict. So, Fran, you are bringing some of these to our attention. So this is your series and your tips. Tell us, what is the first one? And by the way, before you start, Fran, I'm going to share my screen so we can see some of these in action. If you're listening to the recording today, be sure to check out the YouTube channel and look at this video so you can watch what we're talking about. All right, Fran, go for it. What is the first tool that is helpful to parents to co-parent?
Well, I just became aware of this. On Amazon are several different child custody journals. And there are some attorneys that I've been working with as when I serve as their mediator, and they're encouraging their clients to purchase one of these. The one that came up just this week was the one for $7.99, the very basic one. But again, it helps people focus, and it might help them with their attorney so they could give it to the attorney to kind of show what's been going on. And it's, as you said, it's on paper, so it's the old-fashioned way of keeping track of things.
So, Natalia, before you continue, I would just like to read a little bit of a description to people who might be listening. And this journal is the first of its type that offers an in-depth approach and practical content to tracking and keeping notes about your child custody case in one safe place. 9 major sections for you to record expenses, communication, evidence, court logs, important contacts, visitation, custodian, and witness details. And so you can see the listed sections. This can definitely help people, stay focused from what I'm seeing here. Notes and evidence, also practical information about the child, age, agreed pickup times, drop-off locations, and $8 in US dollars on Amazon. And there's lots of other ones, but you just picked this one out by Annie Hyatt, the author. So thank you for sharing that, Natalia.
From what I can see, it is more like a tool that organizes the work for the attorneys, because this is where the child gets described. There are the data for witnesses and what they can say. So this is practically a tool, a paper tool that you hand over to your attorney to make him or her aware of all the things that are important on a particular custody the case, so in the custody battle. However, there are also tools that will be far more concentrating on appropriate cooperation between the parents. And What we mean by that are the co-parenting apps. There are several on the markets. Here in this podcast, we did have the pleasure of seeing pretty much into detail into the Our Family Wizard app. And we already have on our channel 3 different videos that are able to show the appropriate cooperation of the parents, how they can organize it using this tool. And I find it really important and interesting because Our Family Wizard is a tool that both parents just download to their phones, and they are able to exchange information on the app, which requires or which enables communication. And this app is, for example, removing the inappropriate wording. So any curse words or any.
One second, Natalia.
Mhm.
We'll get to the app in a second. I wanted to just finish up with this one. If Fran could just wrap it up with anything else that she needed to say about why this is appropriate, and then yes, we'll share the Our Family Wizard tool on the next in the next section.
I just became aware of this tool. It never even occurred to me to look on Amazon. It's inexpensive, and again, it might help someone that's technologically challenged, and it lets them write things down so they can remember. Because a lot of people come to me and they're very vague and they don't remember when things happened. So I think this would be helpful to write down important things, good and bad, so that they can refresh their memories. So that's, I've never used it, but just became aware of it, and I thought it might be helpful for some people.
And Fran, in your experience, why do you think some parents need this? I know you've been doing mediations forever.
Well, when someone complains to me about something the other parent did, I'm like, when did that happen? And they're like, well, it was a couple of months ago. Well, a couple of months ago is pretty vague. So again, this could be helpful, and it could be helpful before a hearing to refresh your memory. And sometimes also, it if you look at it over the long term, it might give you a long term perspective instead of looking at one specific incident. You want to see good parenting or bad co-parenting over a long period of time.
Mm. But as far as admissibility goes, this is, I think, a big difference between this and what Natalia was
Right.
getting to a second ago is that the tools, electronic tools, they are made to go to court, whereas this, it might not be admissible, maybe it's, in certain regards, but that's one negative or one downside, I suspect. So, but yeah, let's move on to then the other options, which Natalia was referencing, and I know she started talking about Our Family Wizard. Um, but Natalia,
And
do you want
my
to
opinion is
go?
our family wizard is the Cadillac of electronic communication tools for parents. It's the one that everyone prefers. The reason I like it is because the judges can log in and see the communication between the parents, so it tends to end a lot of the he said, she said, and the bickering. And it is the state of the art program. We do it, you also pay for this one. I believe it's about $100 a year per party, and I believe the child even gets their own email for this. Um, there is also 2 other ones that are free: App Close or Talking Parents. But if you want the premier one, it's definitely Our Family Wizard.
Yeah, Natalia, do you want to continue on what you were going through with this one?
So we have been interviewing on the channel the man that's actually the representative, Kevin Dorsey, and we have in total 3 videos already with him. Actually, what he's sharing is very fascinating, especially in terms that electronic gadgets, on the other hand, brings as a threat into co-parenting. And by using the examples of what can happen, Kevin was explaining why Our Family Wizard as an app excludes those risks, meaning that, for example, that's saving the photos or location in the real time. That means that you can't fake where you actually are. And our practice shows that a lot of parents can't agree where they really are, who got onto the place of the pickup of the child first, who got there second, whether they are there at all. Sometimes there are like gas stations, and they each of them would be saying that they got there, and this app enables to see the real location of a person who is having the app on the phone. And you can also, according to what we know, upload invoices or other like medical documentation that enables you then to be on the same page with your co-parent. The document is on the app. You don't need to send it by email, or you avoid any correspondence regarding it. If it's on the app, you don't need to just make any other signs that it's available to the other parent.
Yes, and one of the features I liked was the sensitivity about security, and you know, having the ability to protect yourself from being tracked by somebody else, because this is a big problem these days, especially in family violence cases. People are trying to put spyware on your devices or being able to break into your email. There, our family wizard OFW takes security very, very seriously, and it's one reason they are probably the cream of the crop when it comes to co-parenting tools. Imagine that journal you were discussing earlier, Fran. Imagine that being stolen by the other parent. Imagine that being placed in the child's bag by accident and the other parent sees it, especially if you were using it to you know list things that you might need to remember for your court case. Anything that can you can write down can be burned or stolen, but if it's electronic, then it's stored in the cloud, and you just hope that you're working with a company whose servers are secure and people cannot guess your um, password very easily. So that's one of the benefits of using a tool like this. And so, yes, uh, we thank Kevin for stopping by and talking to us about this. And you met Kevin in person, right, Natalia?
Yeah, I did, because Kevin is kind enough. He visits different conferences of family lawyers, and I met him in New Orleans last year. And he's a friendly guy. Anybody who might be wishing to also have him speak, or he will be absolutely welcoming to any invitation regarding his presence, explanations. He's also been saying that they offer some sort of discounts, and yeah.
Yeah. So if our family wizard is too expensive, they actually can help take care of you. And then one shout out, of course, to Dr. Barbara Manuso. Um she has had Kevin in her own classes to talk to her students who are being trained to become mediators about their tool. So Fran mentioned a couple minutes ago about other options that are out there. I'm not sure if it was Fran on tele. I'm sorry. But I think shout out was made to App Close as well as to Talking Parents. Uh, Talking Parents is the one that I kind of grew up on, not literally, but when I was a baby lawyer years ago, everybody was putting Talking Parents into their court orders. And I remember it. And so when I worked for the Attorney General Child Support Office, we saw a lot of, lawyers trying to incorporate this. And so this was the beginning. And so, anyway, they're the ones I was most familiar with because they were free, and
Yeah.
they have a pricing model that's less expensive than our family wizard, but I like them because a lot of parents use them. And then there's of course App Close, which is a Texas-based company that is really slowly becoming, I think, one of the big power players in this field of co-parenting application. But Fran, what's been your experience about um, good, bad, or ugly about these, or and do you use them all in your mediation agreements?
I always start with our family wizard, but some people don't want to pay. And in Houston, Talking Parents was very popular. I'm in the Texas Hill Country now. App Close is the one that's used up here, maybe because they're based out of Austin. but I think all of them are excellent. It's easy to get the evidence into court. And so I do find it stops the people cussing each other out. And also because the judge can see these apps easily online, the judge can easily figure out who is the one that's not willing to co parent.
Hmm. One thing, we have a crop of judges now who have come of age as judges, who, as prior attorneys themselves, were using these tools for their own clients. It's not like where you would have had judges in the late 90s or early 2000s who were never familiar with these kind of tools. Now, your judges are tech savvy. Your
Yeah.
judges have smartphones, and your judges know what can and cannot happen. You can't lie to your judge and make stuff up anymore when it comes to authentication of or Photoshop problems. Like, courts, judges now know. Okay, they have a meter up here that can kind of see through this. Also, juries, lots of parents who are serving as jurors in a family law case, they're gonna have use these apps. They're gonna know how the tools work themselves. And so we're getting to a whole new world now where the intersection of technology and the law is a very, very real thing, a very big thing. And people need to now know how to manage technology and not let it, manage them. All right. So now let's talk about the next tool, Fran. So we talked about the Child Custody Journal. We talked about App Family Wizard, Talking Parents, and App Close. What else do you got?
The last one is a how to pick a midway point when parents live, especially live far apart. And that website is Meetways. And I've been using it for a couple of years, and it is very helpful many times because when people live, especially Texas is a very big state, it can be very difficult to try to pick a midway point. And there may be other websites out there. This is just the one that I've used, and it's simple to use.
Mm. Um,
Did you want to
Meetways.com. And
meetways.com? Yeah.
yes, and we're on there now. And this website is free to use, of course, has some ads. But the situation that we find ourselves in is where we're helping two parents agree on a location for their child, but then they fight about it. Sometimes we'll say, "Give me a McDonald's," that's midway, and then they can't think of one, or they're like, "I don't want McDonald's," or "I want Chick-fil-A." Oh no, I'm offended by Chick-fil-A. And so people have lots of different reasons why they're going to, um, you know, argue and fight. But this resolves a problem. It just picks a location that is exactly in the middle between 2 points in space. So wanted to check it out and try it out. But I'd love to do Natalia's address with mine, but I don't think that's going to be too practical because she's across the ocean as we speak. But Fran, I'm gonna use downtown Houston. So suppose a parent lives in 77002. That's
Okay.
downtown Houston, and then they put their location, and then they're gonna put the zip code for the other parent who happens to live in the Texas Hill Country. And Fran, can you give us a zip code for that area?
78654.
Okay. And then point of interest, example, a pizza shop, coffee shop, a hotel. And we can also leave it blank and it can just pick somewhere randomly. I always prefer fun places for children, like malls, restaurants. Don't like gas stations. I really don't like jailhouses and police stations, even though parents for some reason are always suggesting the police station. I just think it sends a bad message to your child to associate that with their other parent. um
I think it's
so
nice to pick a place that has a restroom and where the kids
yep,
can get a drink.
like Bucky's, right? No,
Oh,
so
we love
let's
Buc-ee's.
let's put let's put pizza.
Okay.
Okay. And then the options of travel are by car, by public transit. You could walk or by bicycling. All right, you can tell they're using Google Maps to run all this, right? So we're going to go ahead and hit go, and let's see where it has us go. Okay, it actually uses Apple Maps, not Google Maps. The halfway point between 77002 downtown Houston and 78654 Texas Hill Country is LaGrange, Texas. And if you scroll down, it tells you these locations are 213 miles apart, and the exact midpoint is LaGrange, Texas. You search for pizza. Some places you could meet at include Reba's Pizzeria in Delhi, Era's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria, and Pizza Hut. And so the cool thing is you can pick one of these locations, and it will be midway on this website, meetways.com, so that you can have a perfect location without quarreling, without arguing, without fighting, to be able to meet with your the other parent. So really cool tool. I have not used it. I'm so glad that you've brought this to our attention, Fran, so that we can um, help parents co-parent better whenever they're deciding on a midpoint to do exchanges for their kids.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Mac. It's very interesting.
Yes, I am gonna do Natalia's location in mine. I just have to.
Okay.
Um,
I don't have
Warsaw.
the American, yeah,
I
but
know,
let us see. Yeah, the American format of the code.
and we'll see what happens, and then we're going to put downtown Houston, and we don't need to put pizza. And
No.
let's go. And the midpoint is loading. It's coming. It's taking a while. If it puts us in the middle of the ocean, we're gonna have a
I
problem.
know. Yeah, that's what I'm
This is
worried
why
about.
it's good you didn't put pizza, you know? Yeah. So the system is thinking. It already recognized it is outside of the states.
Yes, so we'll get back to you on that,
Yeah.
on where exactly you will do a custody exchange between two continents. But
Which, by the way, we did have a case like that. So,
we've had multiple cases like that. Yes. And
mhm.
so I'm thinking that the midpoint would be somewhere near Iceland.
Reykjavik. Hmm.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be
I think you've
loading.
stumped it. I think you've totally stumped it.
Okay. But the point is, if you're in the US, you're covered. I'm sure if you're in Europe and you put two European addresses, you're covered. But once you start trying to travel with a child across the ocean, you might have to go back to square one and figure it out yourself by looking at the map. Okay. All right. Well, Fran, thank you so much. These were three great tips today. So you can check out the manual version of a child custody journal. And there's lots of examples that are on Amazon. You can check out a co-parenting tool like Our Family Wizard, Talking Parents, or App Close. And finally, you could check out Meetways to help you figure out a perfect place in the middle. But thank you again, Natalia, for referencing back um, to the videos we've done with the Off Family Wizard reps. And if you are listening for App Close or Talking Parents, you're always welcome to join us on Instant Mediation's Large Meters International podcast to talk about your product, because we have our favorites, but we don't need to brag about that. We're always open to having people come and stop by. All right. Let me stop the screen share. But yeah, if you'd like to close it out, Natalia, you have the last word.
Always look for ways to cooperate rather than quarrel. If electronics can help you, use electronics. If paper can help you, use the paper. Just try to do things that are precise, concise, and that really move this entire situation on rather than staying stuck like with this example of where are we meeting, where will be the handing over of the child point, right? And then actually that can blow up any single mediation. And this tool
Mm.
can get you out of that.
Exactly. It has blown up. I've seen it personally. Where one parent thinks that they'll have you drive one more mile than the other parent. It creates problems. So, thank you, Fran and Talia. All right. Until next
Thank
time,
you much.
guys.
Bye.